Welcome back to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Today's episode, we are talking about what to do when you just feel so burnt out and fatigued. When you're overwhelmed, you're overworked, you feel like you're going a million miles a minute and you just need to stop or find some way to sit down, somewhere to sit down and rest. This episode is for you, especially toward the end of the year when we get to the holiday season. It can get overwhelming really fast, and we're expected to have all this energy and all this joy and all this fuel when we've just spent the whole year working, saving, spending, fighting, and we just feel tired. We just feel worn down. So if you want to know more about what God says about how to handle fatigue and burnout, stay tuned. This episode's going to be good. Are you tired of struggling with anxiety? Do you find yourself constantly worrying, stressing, and overthinking everything in your life? Do you desire to be free in your own mind again? Welcome to the Panic Meet Peace podcast. I am your host, Shorty, and I teach believers like you how to find peace over anxiety through faith. In this podcast, we discuss strategies for managing anxiety and stress using biblical teachings and faith-based techniques. My special guests and I share our personal experiences, advice, and perspectives to help you ditch the panic attacks and guide you from fear to faith. God has already promised you the peace that passes all understanding, and I am more than happy to introduce you to that peace through today's episode. Are you ready? Without further ado, Panic Meet. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad that you could join me today. Whew. Does anybody else just feel like they need to take a big, deep breath and just sit in a bubble bath or take a long, hot, steamy shower and just wash away all of the cares and the burdens and the stressors that just hang out around us? I'm talking to you. If you're here and this is you and you're like, girl, I need a breath of fresh air, I need rest, then my friend, you have come to the right place today, because that's what we're talking about. We are talking about how to hit that reset button, what it takes, what it looks like, what it feels like, and possibly what you can do today to set that to hit that reset button and to really get that refresh and that energy that you need. We're heading into the holidays. We're going into Thanksgiving, lots of cooking, lots of family gathering, lots of moving from house to house. And if you're like our family, this will be the first Thanksgiving in several years since COVID that everyone is able to get together. So it's going to be a lot of people and a lot of activity going on. And then right after that, we've got Black Friday shopping, getting ready for the Christmas holiday. And in between time, we've got trying to square up things at work, get year end together, making sure that our kids are going to school, setting up the babysitter for when they're out of school, making sure that we wrap the presents and keep them hidden so that nobody finds them, and all of the festivities that go on Christmas Day. So there are a lot of things coming up, and they seem to be coming very quickly. They're not slowing down for anyone, but we've been through an entire year already. We're at the last stretch of this year. And if you're anybody who has been alive, should agree with me when I say that this year has been a year, not in a negative way, but just there have been a lot of things that have happened. There have been a lot of emotional roller coasters, lots of divides politically, lots of thoughts and worries about the future, lots of hopes and dreams about the future. So we have experienced quite a bit this year, and we're not by ourselves. We're all in this together. And I just wanted to get on here very briefly and share with you with what God has shared with me. So this week I've been feeling particularly down. My husband and I were having arguments and fighting, and I was really struggling with my mental and my faith, not necessarily in God, but just my faith over situations. And we all get there. We all go through things where we're like, man, why can't I just get this? Why can't I just figure this thing out? Why is it so hard? And that's okay. That's all right. That's a good thing. Because when we get to those hard places, that is when we fall on God. That is when we are reminded, oh man, I need to lean on God and throw all these cares on him because he cares for me. And I need to just take a break and really think about what I believe, what I'm standing on, and who I'm standing for. And so here I am struggling, trying to get myself together, trying to get my breath, trying to catch my breath, trying to be joyful and just come back up again. And I decided that I wanted to go and study a sermon that God had given me a while back. And I wrote it in a specific journal. I thought I found that specific journal, but it was the wrong one. So anyway, I'm going to go find that journal. I pick it up and I'm looking for the sermon. I start at the very back because it was a very recent thing. And I realized that as I'm flipping through the pages, a lot of my journals are sounding the same. They have the same language, and they are me in a past moment feeling the same way as me right now. And so I was sitting there flipping through, and I realized that some of these things looked like cycles. They were patterns. I was experiencing and praying the same prayers over and over and over again, just in different seasons of my life. This particular journal that I was reading went all the way back to 2021. It was a second journal that I'd purchased to, just journal my feelings and write out my emotions. This is when I was using worldly methods to solve anxiety for me. And don't get me wrong, it was very helpful. And what that did was allowed me to see the growth, the changes, the things that haven't changed in my life in my life, just in this journey that I'm walking. And while I was sitting there looking over it, I was thinking, God, why am I still asking for the same things today? And I started to get a little bit down about it because I thought, man, have I been in this cycle this whole time? And it really gave me this refreshing. It was hard to deal with. It was hard to think about and accept that I've been dealing with some of these same issues. And I'm not talking about external issues. I'm talking about internal ones. I'm talking about my own thoughts, my own feelings, my own actions, my own shame and guilt, and my own disappointments. I'm seeing that there's a pattern here. And I was thinking to myself, wow, it looks like I've just woken up from a bad dream where I keep having the same dream over and over again. But instead of me changing anything or doing anything different, I'm still here. And so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it and I'm asking God to help me break the cycle. And then I just told him straight up, I was like, God, I'm really tired. I'm really tired. And I don't know if I have the energy to tackle all of these things that I've been suffering from and dealing with for so long. Even if they are just changes in me and in my mind and heart, I don't even know if I have the energy to do that. And so I'm sitting here and I tell my friends about it because my two best friends, I always just confide in them. And so I'm telling them about what I found. And my best friend sends me this sermon. And it was only about 30 minutes. So I thought, okay, that's about the length of a podcast. So I can listen to it on my way to pick up my daughter from daycare. So I'm headed to daycare. I put the sermon on and I end up pulling over and sitting in a parking lot and listening because I started crying immediately. And the words that he was saying were speaking directly to me about all the things that I had just discovered in my own journal and in my own life. And afterward, and just during the whole process, I began to feel my spirit lift. I felt my strength come back. I felt my worries leave. And I just remembered, man, whenever I need God, all I have to do is just come to him. And you know when you feel separated from God because things start to really get to you. Things that never would have bothered you before really start to get to you. And they really start to affect you in a way that makes you react like in anger or frustration or stress or anxiety. And so when I noticed that was happening and I told God, I said, I need to get close to you. And this morning I was praying. I was like, Lord, draw me close to you. I know that you said that if I draw near to you, or if I draw near to you, you would draw near to me. So I need you to draw near to me today. My friend sent me that sermon. It was exactly what I needed to hear. And I'm praying and I'm crying out to God. And then I was reminded, and then I was refreshed. When it was all said and done, 30 minutes of time with God, just hearing his word being poured out the way that it was being poured out, I immediately felt the strength and the power that I thought I had lost. And so today, my friend, my word for you is that you step away from your life and your to-do list and your projects and your plans, even your cooking and grocery shopping, all your holiday thinking and planning. Step away from it and allow yourself to just be in the presence of God. That doesn't have to look super spiritual and crazy. I just told you that I was listening to a sermon through a text message on my phone in my car on my way to pick up my daughter. That's not fancy. That's not kneeling down on the ground, face to the ground worship. That is just me being in the presence of God and allowing him to do the work in me that was needful, the work that I didn't even know I needed. I didn't know I needed to hear that sermon today. I didn't know that that was what was going to come my way when I shared how I was feeling, but it did. And I accepted it and I received it, and then I needed it. And I'm so grateful to my friend for sending me that. And I'm so grateful to God for using her and using the preacher who brought the word to really heal my spirit today. And the scripture that I want to give to you is Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. Jesus says to them at the time, he says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Y'all, my soul is refreshed today. I'm telling you, I was walking around like I just really thought that I was burdened down, weighed down by the weight of the world and my marriage and my kids and my future, and just being in his presence. I keep saying 30 minutes, but I was in there for 20 minutes, y'all. He refreshed my soul. And this is my favorite part. Verse 30, it says, "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Now that yoke that he's talking about, if you have ever seen a picture of oxen pulling a chariot or anything like that, or I can't remember the name of it, but it's a tool that we used to use back in the day where we would put it on the bull would drag it, and it would dig into the ground to lay the way for us to plant seeds for our gardens. The oxen are put together. There are two oxen that are pulling this giant wheel or this giant, trencher, and they are put in a yoke. And the yoke is like an anchor around their necks that allows them to walk forward and pushes them and allows them to pull the burden or the thing behind them. That's what that yoke is. And so when Jesus is saying right here, "Take my yoke upon you, because my yoke is easy and my burden is light," it's such a beautiful symbolic gift to us that's saying, listen, if you just allow me to help you pull this thing, if you just take my yoke upon you, put yours down, put your to-do list down, put your things that you want to do down, put your hopes and dreams, just put everything aside, come over here and join me in what I'm doing. My yoke is easy. My burden is light. What you're going to be doing is not just going to be rewarding and needful to you, but it's going to be refreshing. It's going to give you encouragement. It's going to give you the hope that you can keep going and still reach those goals that you're looking for, but just doing it my way. Just taking my path and going in my routes and doing my things. And I'm not saying this in a way that's like, girl, you have to be obedient or you're going to suffer. No, I'm saying that sometimes we carry things around on our shoulders that God never meant for us to carry. Sometimes we have all these hopes and dreams and these goals that we put on ourselves, and we think that we have to do it all alone. When all the while, God is saying, if you just come with me, not only will you achieve every hope and dream and receive all of those beautiful things that you want, but you will have done them the easy way because you did them my way. Because I already prepared the way for you. Because I already set these things up for you so that you could get everything that you ask and hope for and believe, and beyond that, just by being focused on me and working alongside me. It's just like his promise in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. That is the gift. That is the promise. And that is the thing that he is constantly telling us. Hey, sis, lay down that burden. Put it aside. It's not for you to carry anyway. Come over here. Lay your burdens aside. Everyone who's laboring, everyone who's working, even in the kingdom work, right? Even working in ministry, it gets tough sometimes. Leading and leading people can be hard and difficult, and it can be gruesome sometimes. It can be really brutal. Even in those things, God is saying, come to me and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. If you just do things my way, you will see how much easier it can be. If you do things my way, if you just watch and imitate me, like my 5-year-old and my 2-year-old, they like to imitate me a lot, and I'm sure you can hear them in the background, but they imitate me a lot. And it's because they're learning of me and they're becoming who they are supposed to be by following my example. And not necessarily saying like I'm the reason why they're going to be that. My example in, the basics and the necessities of life and the things they need to learn so that when they are old enough to hear from God, they can hear him and serve him greatly. But it starts with me. They come and they imitate me as I imitate my Father. And that is what God wants for us. He says, learn of me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. So my challenge for you today is to take 15 to 20 minutes and get in the presence of God and just allow him to give you that rest. I will link the sermon that my beautiful friend sent me today below in the show notes for you so that you can also hear it if you like. But whatever that looks like for you, if it's sitting outside and having a cup of coffee with God and getting in his word, if it's having prayer time or going to church and just sitting in the sanctuary and listening for 20 minutes, if it's getting on YouTube or finding a sermon that really speaks out to you, that the title really just ministers to you, God has so many unique and open ways for us to get to him. He doesn't make it hard. He doesn't make it difficult. It's not impossible. If you seek him, you will find him. And I love this verse he says in Jeremiah. He says, you will find me when you seek me with your whole heart. And that's what I want for you today, my friend. I want you to find God. And in return, I want you to find that rest so that you can have the strength and the energy and the power and the joy and the life poured right back into you so you can continue going forward and living your most beautiful and blessed life. God is so gracious and merciful to us. He doesn't hold shame over our heads. He doesn't make us feel condemnation when we carry too much or when we're doing too many things or when we fill our schedules with everything but him. He's not that kind of God that he would make us wait or that he would make himself hard to find. If you just seek him with your whole heart and just that sincerity saying, God, I just need you to draw near to me, he will come to you. And in return, you will find everything that you need. Thank you so much for joining me today, friends. I know today was a bit spontaneous and not necessarily solely centered on anxiety, but part of that rest that God promises us is being able to get away from that spirit of anxiety and step into that peace that he so abundantly provides. And I pray that today really blessed you and that you heard something that spoke to your hearts. I pray that you will move forward with power and joy and clarity and peace, and that you'll set aside everything that just really doesn't matter in the long run and put everything before His feet. Watch all of the dominoes fall into place when you show up and take Jesus' hand and walk with Him. I love you guys so much. I pray that you have a great weekend, a blessed Thanksgiving, and I'll see you next week.